All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this panel discussion on DeFi across multiple chains. We have a very distinguished panel of 3 speakers who actually represent very different perspectives. You will find out soon. So let's kick off by having our speakers introduce themselves and share what exciting things they're building in the DeFi space. You can start.
Hey guys, Calvin from Impossible here. Impossible is a decentralized incubator and accelerator. We work with a lot of early stage projects and spend a lot of time trying to think about what happens in this space. So very lucky as well to be able to be alongside 2 folks that are from multiple chain ecosystems. So I think we'll get some interesting perspectives today.
Hi everyone, I'm Ken. I'm the CTO of Avo. So Avo is a decentralized derivatives exchange. We allow you to trade perpetuals, options, and strategies. So we started out first as Ribbon Finance, and we've expanded our scope to building out Avo. And excited to discuss cross-chain DeFi with you all.
Hi, I'm Xiong from Jupiter. Jupiter is a DEX aggregator on Solana. On a monthly basis, we do about $500 million to $1 billion volume. I mean, it's very different from everyone here, ETHKL, but we are from Solana. And it's very excited to share everything about Solana with you guys.
All right, then we'll start with our first question. So how would you categorize DeFi compared to other sectors in the space or narratives? Or what do you think DeFi sets DeFi apart? Can start. Anyone can take. Okay, so first.
I mean, I think DeFi is always there, right? Like if you look at what that's happening recently, the trend that's happening. People have been talking about SocialFi, friend tech and everything. If you look at friend tech alone, that's a part of DeFi as well. It's basically social plus a price curve, right? And that's what makes it more interesting comparing to, like Lens or whatever out there. It's like, you post a tweet, hopefully you will get some kind of tokens. But now it's different. Like you can actually play with the valuation of someone like social profile, and that's part of DeFi as well, I would say, right? Because without the pricing curve, no one will buy and sell like all this social profile. And I think one major part about DeFi is that people feel like there's some kind of alpha there, and people just jump in just so that they can get the kind of alpha. That's why it's always interesting to think about other than social, what are the things that you can do it together with like somehow like a pricing curve or different perspective that like from DeFi before.
Yeah, I think to me, DeFi has always been like this big brain crowd almost, whereas you have like on the corner it's NFTs, the other corner is DeFi. DeFi has always been a big brain crowd. We've developed stuff like AMM, so I think that's what distinguishes all of DeFi from everything else. It's really just development of really interesting ideas combining finance and like math. So yeah, that's why I'm excited about it.
In some way, DeFi never left, right? Because it's part of what both of them are mentioning, right? I think especially when I think we've been lucky enough, I think all of us, to be around in crypto for quite a while. We remember when we opened like those DeFi Llama or DeFi Pulse pages where DeFi TVL was in the tens of millions, and even today in bear market we're still sitting at tens of billions. I think it is a different scale of magnitude of the progress that we've seen in this space, and that even when maybe headlines get taken over by other products like the SocialFi side of things, or maybe before metaverses. Who remembers metaverses, right? You always have new theses or new threads that get people's attention, but obviously a lot of people come to crypto or DeFi for the permissionless access to use any of these products, and I think that's something that's always going to be useful.
Yeah, DeFi is everywhere actually. So you guys all come from different chains or like parts of DeFi space. Just next question will be, wanted to learn more from your own perspective. What do you think are the pros and cons like building non-EVM chains or EVM chains or a rollup? Yeah, okay, Solana as a non-EVM chain.
I'm gonna have a contrarian take on this one, so maybe I'll let Xiong start.
Solana is very different because you look at Ethereum, there's always like a new narrative that bring in like to something more and fresh for a lot of people. Like before that was like Ethereum, now you have like all the like L2 with optimism, arbitrums, and all these things that carry Ethereum narrative forward. Solana is only one chain, like there's only one L1, there's no L2 or whatever, and a lot of baggages, like FTX, SBF, and now like the downtime and whatever, right? People like to throw a lot of hits on it, but at the same time, I'm biased obviously, but if you look at the technology like improvement that has been going on, like last year I think there are a few like a couple of downtimes. Like this year so far has been quite amazing on the uptime. The team are learning a lot, the foundation is learning a lot, like working with the people in the ecosystem. On the DeFi activities, like obviously after the whole FTX crashing, a lot of volume went away. But so far we have seen the uptick in the last, like over the year, since the last FTX crash. It has been going up like quite steadily, not like like very insane, but at least it's like going up like 10-20%, and like linear growth over the year.
Yeah, I think the general trend is that in bull markets, people look for L1s for new opportunities, but somehow in bear markets, Ethereum alignment becomes an actual thing. I'm not sure why. So during the last bear market, people were like, oh, Bitcoin is not crypto, Ethereum is not crypto. I think we're seeing the same here with Ethereum as well. So people are trying to lean into this Ethereum alignment angle with Arbitrum, optimism, shared sequences. So, but I do think like Solana and Avalanche's time would come back in the bull market for sure.
Yeah, I think both of you guys mentioned a bit of like the rotation of usages of these different chains. I think it's boiled down to something much simpler. In bull market, money is everywhere. I think it's pretty obvious, and I think it's always hard not to get distracted in these types of environments. And then you compare that to in bear markets, right? When money is scarce, the momentum, the sentiment around the space is definitely dampened across the board. The question is, where can you aggregate some semblance of community, right? A shout out to Harith and the team here that has done a lot of stuff in building a community here. I think to your point about like why everything kind of seems to come back, in some way, liquidity is what's scarce in this space, right? I mean, you guys see this on the trading side of things. For all of us that have some more trading background here, we understand how important liquidity is, and that there's only two ways to source liquidity for the space. One is to bring new liquidity into the space, and maybe that's why you also hear in bear market, RWAs start becoming popular again, right? Because that's one way to bring liquidity into this space, even in bear market. And then, of course, in bull market, you have enough liquidity to be able to support new L1s, new L2s, whatever it might be. So yeah, I think it's something that is going to be natural to keep on seeing this type of cyclical action. But it's up to us to figure out which ways we can actually sizably make a difference in building up better liquidity for any of the products that we work on.
Thank you. I might like have a follow-up question for Ken. Just like when you were selecting like roll-up solutions, like what's like the thinking process, and then any tips for maybe other DeFi projects are looking into roll-up solutions?
Yeah, so actually the full answer I'll cover within my talk later, an hour later. But so the approach that Avo has gone with is to host our own rollup and then actually have our own almost like app chain that we're running on top of. So that's the solution that we've gone to, and I think it's important for us to inherit Ethereum security, and so that's what we stuck to. So OP stack, Ethereum, and we're built on top of that.
Got it. So addressing security and scalability will be I think a challenge for all three of you. Just wanted to learn more on whether there's any insights you want to share.
For us, it's very different because so far we're just doing basic routing. Most of the security is falling on the partners that we are working with. So most of the time we can get pretty lax on it. I mean, but obviously not losing user money. A lot of our problems usually happen on the UI. It's the price that we are quoting is not what the user expect. So those are usually the things that we have to handle. But most of the time, because we don't have to store any TVL, we don't have to store any user assets on our protocol, which is one thing that's great for us, that we don't have to worry too much about, holding user assets.
Yeah, so security is a huge point for us, right? So for our exchange, how users actually deposit into our exchange is they deposit into our bridge contract, and then they actually bridge funds over to L2. So it's paramount to actually have security to be airtight. We monitor transactions that come in and out.
Yeah, I think I'm curious. I'll throw it back to Ken. Sorry to grill you. I'm curious if there's been a significant difference in the amount of security that you guys need to consider with the new Perps product versus before when you guys had the vaults and the option side of things.
Yeah, I think it's quite different in terms of security. We actually have to care if, our users are solvent and things like that. Do they have enough margin? Is our liquidation engine running well? Whereas with vaults, a lot of these things are fully collateralized, so it really does not matter as much. We just have to ensure that our vault contracts are secure, they're audited. So yeah, it's a different ballgame for sure.
How do you do liquidation cross-chain?
Oh no, so liquidation actually only happens on L2, and yeah, it's happening within the rollup itself. Yeah, there is no cross-chain liquidation or anything like that. Yeah.
So if you cannot find enough liquidity to liquidate on Evo chain, I guess you have market maker that will come in.
Yeah, it's mostly driven by market makers. So if, for example, you deposit ETH, you open a perpetual position and you get liquidated, we actually need to liquidate your ETH into USDC, right? So how we would do that is we would actually do almost like an RFQ. We would RFQ ETH to USDC, convert that, and then we have your USDC so that you are fully margined.
Maybe as a launchpad, I guess the product side of things is maybe less technically rigorous. And so some of what we have to consider as well as on the financial risk side of things. So I think since October of 2021, Impossible has had a buyback protection program as part of the sales that we do. So we've actually returned a total of 1.3 mil USD to our users in the cases where the launches don't go as well as planned and users unfortunately are faced with some loss, that we have effectively a stop loss or some sort of buyback mechanism to allow the users to sell back the token to the project teams in the cases that the project dips significantly below the launch price. So I think in each of the kind of cases that when we're working on different problems, like the front end side of aggregation or on the more heavy derivative side, everything that we have to do, we have to be able to own up to our users and show them that the work that we're doing has the intentions to really protect them. And I think that's the most important thing.
I myself is an Impossible Launchpad user and buyback program user as well. The next question will be more on the regulator and compliance side. It's becoming a more severe or important issue for project founders or everyone in the space. Just want to know how your team is navigating or tackling these.
Maybe I'll start on this one. I guess Impossible has 2 in-house lawyers on the team. I think one of them is sitting in the back. CM, if you want to raise your hand. So if someone has some questions on whatever you guys are building during this hackathon, please feel free to ask us. I would say it's quite difficult, especially when a lot of countries are jurisdictions are not particularly clear in their regulations. The stupid answer is always just do what you think is best for the users if you were a user yourself. There's not really, I think, enough guidance in a lot of places. For ourselves, a lot of the things that we do is just try to keep up with what's happening in the space, as well as Impossible, unfortunately, does have to do KYC on our product as well. And I think, I'm not sure about Avo now, but generally speaking, I do see a lot of teams moving down that direction. I know it's not the most popular one in the more decentralized Ethereum communities, and also not the more popular one when we have so many anonymous anime characters in Twitter and stuff, right? But it's something that I think when you have too many bad actors in a space, a lot of the prevention in trying to reduce the amount of anonymous folks that maybe do things in the wrong ways, I think they've kind of ruined it for a lot of the folks that were honest, good builders that were anonymous for different reasons. I'll tell a small quick story of a lot of us at Binance were anonymous in DeFi mainly because we weren't allowed to work with non-competes. So I think that's one very obvious reason why some folks, whether it's for regulation or for work rules, that they're not able to announce that they're working on some side project. So it's not to say that anonymous builders are all doing things for the wrong reasons, but rather a lot of it comes from necessity. And so I do think that working within the bounds of whatever jurisdictions you guys have, and MDEC is a sponsor, right? So we don't want to screw over any people's applications for visas or anything. So I think generally speaking, we do want to make sure that if you're doing by the users and you feel proud of you being a user of your own product, I think you're in the right direction.
Yeah, I echo what Kelvin mentioned. I think broad strokes as a DeFi protocol, block Americans, block Russians. Unfortunately, that's how it is. But I mean, you guys have to actually protect yourself as a project and track IPs, unfortunately, that too. But as long as that does not fully inhibit like the user experience, like that seems to be the way to go, unfortunately.
I'm not sure what I can add.
Yeah.
Don't want to be like being added as a clip on Twitter, like saying anything stupid.
So if a DEX that you guys aggregate doesn't serve a certain country, but you do, are you allowed to aggregate them?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll find out. Yeah. So then let's jump to the next question. Yeah, DeFi is a rapidly growing space. Like, how do you guys stay on top of the innovations in the DeFi space, and how would you recommend like our other DeFi builders here to like stay on top? Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of free resources out there. I think a lot of group chats, dashboards. I really like Dune dashboards to see like, what's happening. Maybe seeing only 400 users go over to scroll in the first 3 days. You get these like quick like tidbits that you see just from simply opening the homepage. Obviously on Twitter, I think a lot of us have already used Twitter, but I do think Twitter is one of the most powerful resources, and you can also see exactly what other people are following too, right? So I can find out what Ken's like, oh, that's a new DEX, or that's a new thing, or you guys aggregate something new. I can just go see what other people's follower lists are, right? And I would say maybe the other one is, generally speaking, I do think you learn a lot in small group chats. And I think when you have a lot of friends as well that are in the space and are trying to teach each other to keep up to date, I think that's the fastest way to reinforce each other in the learning that you can do.
Yeah, I think crypto, I don't think we call it Twitter nowadays. Crypto X is like the best place to actually learn anything. So follow the right accounts. And if you're starting out in DeFi, for example, I would highly recommend you to go through every single blog post Vitalik has posted, read all of them, imprint it in your brain. And that's how you become an expert in DeFi.
I mean, it's also very easy to chase trends as well. Like sometimes, you know, like metaverse, like people try to do that, but like, you know, nothing has been happening. Now with SocialFi, everyone's like, you like, what are the new things you can build? And on EVM, it's very easy to clone the contract, then deploy something. But most of the time, you have to care about like the UI and a lot of stuff as well. I feel like there are a lot of things that are there, but still not exactly proven yet. Like for example, AMMs, like, you know, we talk about a couple billion of trading volume, but if you look at the total number of users, are still not there. I mean, people have been saying about that as well, like, you know, how do we do more improvement on the UI and stuff like that? Sometimes maybe it's not about the idea, it's more about the UI. But good thing is that things has been improving. Like ever, you know, like it's not possible 2-3 years ago. Now it's possible with new rollup and stuff like that. You can easily do stuff that you don't actually have to sign, but the assets are pretty secure in some way. Same thing for, you know, friend tag and all these things as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing on the learning point is just try more stuff, right? Use their products, you know, try everything. I think I would say brute force is one of the easiest ways for you to catch up with this space. In DeFi summer, sadly Binance didn't reimburse me when I was using this, but I spent almost 415 ETH in gas fees in the calendar year of 2020. But my job was to know about every single thing that existed in this space. You'll always feel FOMO. You'll always feel like there's stuff that you're gonna miss out. But you know, honestly, the learnings that you get from just trying all the products and seeing the new stuff, and also going back and trying stuff that you haven't tried in a while, right? Maybe you have tried the ribbon vaults in the past, but you haven't tried the roll-up. Maybe before Jupiter had a lot of features, and then they rolled out a simple UI where there's a more streamlined approach of trading, where there's only fewer buttons, but a very quick, snappy interface. You know, everything updates over time, and so even if you've touched something once, I don't think you can say, you know, that's done. You never need to go back to it, right? I think that's the challenge of this game, where because there's always new stuff coming out from each of the project teams that are in the space, there's a lot of incentive for you to keep on learning and trying the products directly.
I think here come to our last question due to time limit. For the aspiring or like, upcoming DeFi founders, what would be your suggestion on like for them to during like product design and or any other like suggestion you want to offer?
Yeah, I think for yourself, it's very easy to be caught up with whatever's happening on CryptoX and follow trends. So you don't want to be like the 10th friend tag fork, for example. You want to do the original friend tag. So you need to have an original idea there. So read all the resources out there, think for yourself, and then decide on the project that you want to embark on.
I mean, yeah, exactly what like Ken said, right? Or you can find an edge on what you're really good at. Like, I mean, I think in Malaysia, there are not many traders or like whatever people with very good like finance background. You can obviously immerse yourself by reading a ton online. But at the same time, you can also think about what are the edge that you have over other people, right? The most interesting things are things like things like friend tag is interesting because when you blend something that you're good at with something that has been interesting, then you get something can be interesting or can be, you know, not interesting as well. For example, friend tag, you basically blend social with like somehow like a DeFi, it becomes something very interesting. So these are the things that you have to think for yourself. Like what are the things out there or things that you're good at can be adopted and blend with something that's existing and make it a lot more interesting.
Yeah, and I think this is, I think, quite common also coming out of hackathons, but I think the important question that you should always ask is, would you feel proud if you had to work on this thing for 5 years? I think that's a question that takes a lot of commitment, but I think if you can get across that mental barrier, or you can find ways to add more to the story, like you can see how Ribbon plus Avo and adding new features to the story of what you guys want to build, you know, this is something where if you can see that kind of reason, and I think the project teams that you respect in the space or the products that we use a lot of them aren't around for just a year or two. They're the ones that have been around for many, many years, right? And so to, I think, make that type of lasting impact, I think you actually have to start with thinking, is the problem that you're trying to start with, is that worth spending a significant chunk of your life on? So I think if you can find a good answer for that for yourself, I think you guys will all be in very good shape.
Right, as we wrap up, I'd like to thank our panelists for the insightful panel, and hopefully for our audience, you have some good takeaways. And I guess that's it. And thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you very much to all of our speakers. Let's give them another round of applause. We really appreciate it. We have about 2 or 3 minutes. You want to take a question from the audience? Is that all right with you guys? Okay, if anybody has a question, you can raise your hand. We can take 1 or 2 short questions. Raise your hand and let us know if you want to ask any questions about DeFi across different chains. Okay, I'll wait a few seconds. Okay, we got one over there. Okay, I'll come and pass up.
Hi guys, thank you for a very good talk. Just a question because Kelvin mentioned a little bit about it regarding the real world asset tokenization. I think this has been a big trend, especially in Southeast Asia with the recent conclusion by MAS Singapore for Project Guardian. So they brought in like JP Morgan, HSBC, and all these big banks to work on this project. What are your take on RWA as one of the product in a new product in DeFi, and are you optimistic about it? You know, how can the community get more involved in it? What's your take on that?
Thanks. Yeah, I think, like I said, it's a great way to bring in liquidity into this space. So I think you've got some very interesting research that you brought up in terms of some of the adoption that we're starting to see. For all of us, maybe we've heard of this phrase, DeFi Legos. I think that anytime you can build up more sources of yield, then you have more components to play with. You know, maybe you're creating like a delta neutral strategy on AVO, and then you want to be able to augment some of that yield. You could imagine where some of these assets eventually someday, if they have enough liquidity to be added on a perp or more derivatives, they can be, I think, quite composable. We've already started to see this with like the treasury bills, like the Ondo Finance backed Matrix Ports or Matrix Docs, US STPT, so on and so forth. So I do think that we'll see more and more products come as I think in TradFi, you just need one guy to set the precedent, and I think everyone gets the FOMO to follow, or at least maybe the regulatory clearance to start following. So I do think that it is a very interesting sector to look at. We have a few research teammates from Impossible that have been spending even more time on RWAs, so maybe you guys can wave your hands, and then more folks can come chat to you guys on RWAs. Thanks.
I have nothing to add, but so we have what we call in Ribbon Earn, which is actually helping you stake your USDC, and we give you yield from T-bill. So I think that direction is quite exciting. Just bringing more financial products to people based on real world yield.
If the incentive to trade over and trade with this USDC is not coming from having to issue more tokens from his side, but rather from the yield that the T-bill provides. So I think it's a very smart way to be able to source value from outside of this space to incentivize your users.
Great answer. Thank you for the question as well. We're a bit short on time, so if you don't mind, maybe you can just check out with the speakers after this. Is that okay with you? Thank you so much. Let's give them another big round of applause, and we welcome you back down from the stage. Thank you so much, everybody.